long-awaited sequel of Metroid has arrived to hunt in a portable system with new power-ups, cool new enemies, and best yet, some sick new shoulder pads. Return of Samus starts as quickly as the first Metroid. Your mission is simple: commit genocide by completely eradicating all the Metroids that reside on SR-388. Samus starts with her missiles, Morph Ball, and ability to crouch, as well as shoot downwards while in midair. These don't seem like major upgrades to the previous game, but trust me, not immediately going into Morph Ball when you press down is a godsend. Much like the original game, you're incentivized to explore the new world you're on and are taught how to utilize these new abilities that you've been given. Eventually, you stumble upon your first Metroid, but something about it is different. Well, that was terrifying. It's early, but the game sets the tone. These are not the same Metroids you fought on Zebes. As such, you better prepare yourself by grabbing as many power-ups as you can. Luckily on your journey here, you'll not have to worry about remembering a password if you die, because this game introduced save stations. Alongside save stations, there's also ammo and energy refill stations. Granted, they're kinda tough to find, but if you know where to look for them, you can find them. And if you can't find them, I don't know if it's exactly true, but based on my playthrough of the game, ammo and energy drop rates from enemies have increased, though I couldn't tell you if this is real or I just got really lucky. This does bring up my first big gripe of the game. There is once again no map in the vanilla game. For my playthrough, I'm utilizing a map I found online so I don't get lost, even though it's still not too difficult to find your own way. Return of Samus is pretty linear. Unlike its predecessor and successor, the game does this by blocking areas with lava, forcing the player to kill all the currently available Metroids in an area before progressing. According to the map I'm utilizing from Metroid Recon, there are a total of 10 areas, each with their own number of Metroids which must be eliminated in order to progress. And these Metroids, which we'll get into more detail about later, progressively get harder and harder to kill. In each area are better and better items though that help you directly take out these Metroids via either beams, missiles, or health, or they give you better exploration tools, such as Spider Ball or bombs. Another thing this game handles well is showing you that you need to explore in order to progress. In Area 1 of the game where you get bombs, there's a section early on in the area that is blocked unless you have bombs. It is also blocked even with bombs because you need Spider Ball in order to progress. So again, not only is the game incentivizing you to go check out the whole area before you come back, it's also telling you like, hey man, you really need these things if you want to beat the game. I believe this approach is not only essential to the Metroid experience, but also essential for this game because without these miniature roadblocks, you're sure to miss out on all the cool power-ups available. Returning to my original point about the areas being too difficult to explore due to a lack of an in-game map, there's the problem of music. See, in the original Metroid game, if you heard the music of an area, you knew where you were. Like Kraid's Lair, you knew you were in Kraid's Lair if you were colorblind, for example. But this game doesn't really do that. Instead, in most other areas of the game outside of the first one, this is what you're listening to. Now compare that to the Samus Returns OST of the same areas, and you may understand why it's tough to know where you are. Another problem this game faces, it's primarily because it was on the Game Boy, is lack of color. On the original Game Boy, you can't rely on visuals to tell you where you are like you could in Metroid, where every area was very vibrant. If you were in Brinstar, you knew you were in Brinstar, whether it was through the music or through the very blue tile set. Kinda get what I'm saying? Basically, the lack of color and the lack of really unique music gives the player very little information to work with, trying to understand where they're at. Let's get back to the good stuff that makes Metroid 2 memorable. The new power-ups added in Spazer and Plasma Beam, as well as Space Jump and Spring Ball. Although you cannot combine the beams yet, they make up for this by giving you access to these beams a few times across the areas, giving the players some freedom to test out and find their favorite starting in the third area. While I was playing, I also remember that there's a fun glitch in the game you can utilize for a lot of the tall tower rooms if you don't have Space Jump yet. By having Samus get hit by anything that damages her, she can immediately jump again, and you can chain these as long as you have health. Granted, they're, again, not necessary once you get Space Jump, but it's a neat piece of knowledge to have. In regards to Spring Ball, it brings up one of the only unique bosses in the game, which is Arachnus. You see this creature for a very short amount of time, killing it with a bunch of bombs to grab the Spring Ball, before not seeing it again for 11 years on the GBA. But we'll come back to that at a later date. Something Nestroid also lacked were bosses, but made up for these lack of fights with each one feeling different and having their own set of challenges. The fights in this game, however, are pretty straightforward, aside from the final boss and Arachnus. Generally, just find a safe spot and spam missiles until the thing explodes is the general accepted terms of agreement. This brings up the Metroids in this game. There are 6 variants of Metroids, though you will only consistently interact with about 4 of them. Those 4 being Alpha, Gamma, Zeta, and finally, Omega Metroids. These all get killed with 5, 10, 20, and 40 missiles respectively, though Omega Metroid's damage can be negated by Screw Attack. As you may have noticed, I did mention 2 of the Metroid variants you can find in this game, but we'll be saving those for the final segment. As each Metroid needs a different set of missiles to finish them off, they also progressively get faster and newer abilities. Alphas are pretty basic, they just charge at you with no real intent to deal a lot of damage. Gamma Metroids gain a beam they can fire in an arch near them. Zetas are fast and deal a good chunk of damage when they hit, and you can't hit them from below because of their newly evolved feet. And finally, Omega Metroids slow down a bit, but trade that speed for power and this weird swooping ability that's stupid annoying if you don't have Screw Attack. So, be careful, find Screw Attack, and utilize it to the best of your ability. And you may want to consider saving in between each Metroid encounter. It's here that I actually want to mention one more thing about these variants, and that's the music used in Samus Returns goes absolutely fucking hard. Alpha Metroid's themes are kind of crazy and scattered, almost like it's, pretty young and full of energy. Meanwhile, Gamma Metroids add into the Alpha's theme and give it a little more drive and understanding as it starts to learn. Zeta Metroids give me not only a hint to Prime 2 multiplayer soundtrack, but also gives me a feeling of anxiety, helping you better grasp the situation at hand. And finally, the Omega Metroid theme is just you know what? Just listen to this absolutely raw theme. Obviously, these themes aren't in Return of Samus, but there's at least this one theme that you can use during your fights, I guess. As the player explores more and more of SR388, not only are you battling tougher and tougher enemies and the Metroids previously mentioned, the planet itself is also getting more dangerous. Areas full of spikes, fast-moving enemies, and some even invulnerable damage start popping up, giving the player a sense that not only are you hunting Metroids, but the planet itself is trying to rid itself of Samus. It's a wonderful way of subtly telling the player to take this mission seriously and understand the weight of it. Eventually, you make your way through all the areas, ready to leave upon killing the final Omega Metroid. Searching for that final one, you eventually stumble upon the nest. Upon entering the Metroid nest, there's a sound, and a sudden spike in Metroids left to kill. Along with it, the music changes, making the final area feel a lot more like entering Turian, as you did in the previous installment. Here you find the Metroids at their larva stage that you fought at the end of Nestroid. These are immune to damage unless they get frozen, so if you don't have Ice Beam, you're just totally screwed, right? You might be thinking, damn, I gotta go all the way back to get Ice Beam in Area 6 again. But no, the developers actually planned for this and gave you access to an Ice Beam right next to the nest, allowing you to not only save some time, but also not require you to remember where all the Ice Beams are. Much like in the original game, however, freeze these Metroids once, then fire 5 missiles to rid the world of them. There are 8 here, seemingly guarding something that looms overhead, and upon clearing them out, you find yourself at what appears to be a dead end, but instead ends up being the entrance to the final boss, Queen Metroid. Before going into the details of this fight, it's important to note the different experiences and music you get in Return of Samus versus Samus Returns. In this version, we get a very solemn and somewhat intense rhythmic beat of the music, which is good, but Samus Returns gets something far more intense in every sense of the word. With Samus taking down the Metroids throughout the journey, the music has evolved to finally reach the matriarch of the family. This fight can be dealt with in a couple different ways. Either spam a bunch of missiles in a Queen Metroid's mouth, about 150 to be precise, or when she's opened up, shoot a missile in and go into Morph Ball mode to go down her gullet into her stomach, where you can place bombs dealing tons of damage. As the fight progresses, much like all the other previous forms of Metroids, she gets faster and faster, so health is a big deal here. Luckily, if you feel like you're just getting completely outclassed and feel underprepared, there is a Morph Ball tunnel you can take to leave the fight at any time before her demise to refill. This does make it so the fight resets, but if you're wanting to go back to find more energy and or just 100% the game, this is the time to do it. Finally though, after defeating her, you notice that there's no escape sequence like there was in the original. There's no anxiety-inducing sprint down the hallway as fast as you can. You can actually take your time and enjoy just everything about your journey. Upon leaving the boss room to the left though, you stumble upon a newly hatched baby Metroid. This baby takes to Samus as if she was its own mother, and Samus finds herself unable to kill the thing, finding it to be innocent. Samus decides to bring the baby with her to her ship, Slowly but surely, the duo get there, giving the most peaceful end to a Metroid game the player has ever seen. An end that I'm sure will have no direct impact on the overarching story of the series. This brings up the question, what makes Return of Samus the best Metroid game in the series? You might be thinking I'm going to go with the easy answer of it being the first portable Metroid game. But honestly, I think the impact it has on the story really helps shoot it into the hearts of many. At first, killing Metroids may seem like a great thing. You're flying through, completing your mission without a second thought. But by the end of the game, when the baby Metroid hatches in front of your eyes, you realize an entire species that was simply acting on instinct like any other creature would has just been completely eliminated from the universe. It's a guilt that Samus must live with, and the way she lets the baby Metroid live tells me everything about her character. Samus feels horrible about what she's done. She did it out of duty, sure, but at the cost of innocent lives. Although the galaxy is definitely safer without them, it is not free of the guilt it caused by eradicating Metroids. With the end of this game, though, we'll have to wait and find out next time what lurks in store for our fearless bounty hunter Samus Aran when we get to the third and possibly strongest entry in the Metroid series, Super Metroid.